Hello, everyone. Oh my God, I am so sorry that I am so late for this live session. I Some emergency had come up this morning and I had to deal with that. So I wasn't able to get on at 8 on my time, which is about 11 a.m. Eastern time. So I really deeply apologize for that. And so now that I'm on, I hope you'll join me. You can join me later, that's okay too. But today's topic is going to be about understanding your soul's traveling journey. Understanding your soul's traveling journey. And this session is to help you deal with life's challenges. Uh, when you feel like you're alone, or when you feel like life is not fair, or you feel like life is just not going well for you. When you really start to understand what the soul is about, then in this life, there are many lives. Then you take some comfort in that. You return to faith. You return to commitment. So that's the topic for today: understanding your soul's traveling journey in this life. And if you have any questions or comments or anything like that, please share it in the chat. As I learn from you, you learn from me, we learn from each other. We engage in this beautiful conversation live session. So I'm deeply honored to do these live sessions every week for the betterment or the highest and best interest for all of us. This is really for the highest and best interest for all of us. So, again, the topic is understanding your soul's traveling journey in this life. So, let's clear the energy of the room and then we'll get started with the topic. So, just breathe naturally, stay present in the power of now. Dear God, angels, spirit guides, and masters, divine creator, thank you so much for allowing us to create this sacred space on the topic of understanding our soul's journey while we travel in this life. Thank you so much for allowing us to have this beautiful engagement amongst each other so that we can learn from each other and share energies that benefit for the highest and best interest of everyone in this beautiful sacred space. Thank you so much for allowing time to be able to do this every week and for us to come together in a way that is unique and special and to tap into our spirituality, our soul's journey, which is really why we are here, whether we are conscious of it or not. Thank you so much for removing any low frequency energies that do not serve the highest and best interest of this sacred space. And thank you for allowing this session to go off with flow, ease, peace, and serenity. And so it is. Namaste. Okay. Okay. So the topic of understanding your soul's traveling journey in this life so that you could manage challenges in life in a more successful way. So, what does it mean that the soul's traveling journey? The soul is, obviously, the soul comes into this physical form. And then once it comes into this physical form, there's physical experiences that we have to learn lifelong lessons or the soul's journey lessons for the expansion and growth of the soul. And so essentially, the soul is traveling. It's traveling through this time space reality, what we call life. It's traveling through our body, and we have these experiences. And then once those experiences and our purpose is fulfilled in this life, then our soul continues to travel beyond this, right? The traveling never ends. The traveling is eternal. The traveling never stops. And the reason why the traveling never stops of the soul's journey is because the soul is looking to infinitely grow and expand. You know how the universe is infinitely expanding and growing? Well, as we are part and parcel of the universe, we're not apart. So we're not apart from the ocean, we're not apart from the moon, we're not apart from planet Jupiter, we're not apart from anything because we all come from that one source energy. And it feels like, what do you mean, moon, that we're not apart from the ocean? We're not apart from the moon. We're not apart from anything in this universe. And we're not apart from each other. We think the ego mind says we're apart from each other, but we're not. We're part and parcel of everything because it all comes from that one source energy, what you may call God. Well, I call it, the highest level of consciousness or the highest level of love energy. It's that from that source energy that all things come about. And so really we are connected to everything. So our soul comes into this physical form to have these interactions with everything in this physical form so that we can learn lots of lessons for the eternal expansion and growth of the soul, because that soul is part and parcel of everything in the universe, right? Because it all comes from that source energy. And so when we understand that our soul is really traveling, whether it's through different consciousness levels. So right now the soul is traveling, when you're here, is traveling through this, what we call time, space, reality, this physical consciousness level. There's something here that we're going to learn. And then once the body goes, passes on, the soul continues and it reaches a higher consciousness level. It may come back to another body to learn more lessons that it may not have learned in previous lives. That's where the many lives come in, many lives. And so really the soul is infinitely traveling. There is no end destination. There is no end destination. There's only expansion and growth. So the soul keeps traveling to have different experiences, to learn lessons for the infinite expansion and growth. So it's a traveling thing. And so what happens when you travel? What happens when you travel from one place to another place to another place to another place? Do you stay there forever? No. A traveler is somebody who stays temporarily and then moves on, and then stays temporarily and moves on, and stays temporarily and moves on. And the travel doesn't necessarily have any end destination, right? So the traveler says, I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here. There is no end to that destination. And that is exactly what your soul is. There is no end to this traveling of your soul. And so once you start to understand that there is no end to the traveling of the soul, think about what that really means for you. Think about how much comfort, how much faith, how much commitment you can have to your soul's journey. Because it is infinite, it is eternal, it is never ending. And that traveling energy only ever happens in the power of this moment. It doesn't happen in the past. It never happens in the future. It only happens in the power of now. Your soul only lives in this moment. In this moment, in the power. It does not live in the past. It does not live in the future. It only ever lives in this moment. So because when you're a traveler, you're always traveling in this moment. Are you ever traveling in the past? Are you traveling in the future? No. You're always traveling in this moment. This is the moment when you travel. There is no other moment. That's why the great Wittgenstein, philosopher Wittgenstein, says, those who live in the now have eternal life. Those who live in the now have eternal life, because this is the only time that the soul really exists. And so the soul is traveling right now. Does the soul just stay, stagnant? No, the soul keeps traveling. The soul keeps traveling, keeps moving, keeps moving, keeps moving, keeps moving. So it's never staying in the same place. Now, in terms of when your soul comes into this life, your ego mind, this stuff over here, tries to override the traveling energy of the soul. Why does it do that? Because the ego mind is in the fear mode. The ego mind likes to place fear in us. And fear is what stagnates the traveling soul, because the soul knows that it's going to expand and grow infinitely. But the ego mind says, no, 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 stop, stop. It's like as if the ego mind doesn't want the soul to expand and grow infinitely, because the ego mind lives on fear, wants you to be small, wants to limit you, wants to push you down. It doesn't want you to just expand and grow eternally. It wants to keep you in a certain place, in a certain position, in a certain state of being, in a certain consciousness level. And so we've got this dual thing of the traveling soul and the ego mind kind of clashing with each other. And this is where we get into a lot of turmoil, internal turmoil, when those two things start to clash. Because if the soul wants to travel and it wants to go, and the ego mind wants to stop it, right? The soul wants to go, and this is the ego mind says, no, 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 you can't expand. What's happening? There's conflict here, right? There's real conflict that's happening because the ego mind wants to stop the traveling soul. And this is what really creates a lot of turmoil within us. The turmoil within us is that the traveling soul wants to keep going, going, going for that eternal expansion. And the ego mind is saying, no, stop, because it wants to control. It wants to keep you small. It wants to limit you. And it wants you to be in fear. Because if you're in fear, then it could control and it could limit you. It could keep you small. And so there's that clash between the ego mind and the traveling soul. And this is where we are internally conflicted. This is what causes a lot of stress, anxiety, confusion about our lives, about our purpose in this time, our soul's purpose in this time space reality, because there's constantly that conflict that's going on, that clash between those two things. Because when we come into this physical time space, that soul comes into physical time space reality, we create this ego mind. Whereas when we do not have this time space reality, we're just pure soul consciousness. And that soul consciousness knows exactly which way to go, knows exactly which path to take, knows exactly which road it's going to take for its expansion and growth. There is no doubt. There is no fear. There's only expansion, love, and just eternal, like, growth, eternal learning. The soul is eternally growing and learning for its eternal expansion. Okay. Hi, James Bishop. Hi, Nicole Williams. How are you? I'm good. Hi, James. I know, remember who I am. I have a destiny, a woman, true date, let it be received. Hi, James. Okay. The past define my present and my future. Okay. Yes, I understand what you're saying. But in terms of the past has of course it defined who you are, your perspective and things like that. But it only happens, the past has only happened in the now. So all of those experiences that you've experienced from the past, it only ever happened in the now. And now you have a memory of that, right? But that memory is different from that your soul only ever lives in the now, that you ever only live in the, and only change only ever happens in the now. Yes, you have a past that you remember, but those past experiences only happened, were experienced in the power of now. It was never experienced in the past. It was never experienced in the future. And that's why Wittgenstein says those who live in the now have eternal life, which means that there's only, your mind has a memory of the past, but the only real experience that you have, that you can experience, is in the present moment. There's no past, there's no future. And so when your soul transcends this body, this time space reality, it moves beyond it. There's only the presence of now. There's no such thing as future. There's no such thing as past. That time space reality is only constructed in this level of consciousness. When you start reaching higher levels, it transcends time and space. It's only ever present in the now. So, yes, so those experiences that you've experienced in the now, in the past, of course, helped you define who you are. Absolutely, because you're learning those lessons. The soul is learning those lessons to improve, to expand and grow so that you could continue to expand and grow in your future, right? That in this time space reality. But everything ever, but real, true nature of reality of your existence is only ever in the now. It's never in the past. It's never. So only change can only happen ever in the now. Change will never happen in the past, never happen in the future. It only ever happens in the now. That's why it's the power of now, the power of now, the power of now. Eckhart Tolle's book, Power, and that lots of gurus, spiritual gurus, understand that the power is only ever in the now. It's never in the past, it's never in the future. You're learning from those experiences, but the change happens in the now. Okay. So I hope that has clarified about defining who you are. And okay, so then let's get back to what I was talking about. Now, if you have any questions about this, please let me know what the questions are about this your soul's traveling journey. Why it's going to now be helpful to you in how you can apply this in a everyday practical matter, whether it's in your relationships, whether it's in your career, whether it's in your business, whether it's in finances. You know, it's gotta really work for your practical life in this life. Can't just be some esoteric metaphysical principles and concepts, right? So if we have we take the premise that the traveling soul is eternal and it's here temporarily to learn lots of life's lessons for the expansion and growth of that eternal part of you, that eternal beingness of you, then what does it really mean for your life in this life? So when you start to encounter challenges, when you start to encounter challenges like whether it's money challenge or relationship or career business. Let's take, for example, relationships. Let's take, for example, the issue of loneliness, right? A lot of times, what I notice is that people feeling very lonely these days. I see a lot of mental and emotional anxiety, stress, and just feeling lonely. And I see that a lot among my fellow humans, the loneliness feeling. And because they feel like they don't really have people who really care about them. They might be alone. They're afraid of dying alone. They're afraid of, being alone. They're afraid of loneliness. And so, and I understand because having beautiful relationships with people, right, with your family, your friends, is a beautiful thing. But often I see that people are scared of being alone, and especially as the people get older, they feel truly alone. Sometimes they and when sometimes you go to these maybe a hospice or you go to these elder people's homes, a lot of times the old elders they pass alone. There's nobody there. There's no family member. There's no friend that's there when they pass on. They sometimes a lot of times they pass on their own. And so this traveling journey really comes in handy. It really gives you it really becomes very practical when we feel we're really alone in this world and that we might die alone. It's because when we truly understand that we are an eternal being of eternal expansion and we're here to travel through life, there is much less feeling of that loneliness. There's a confidence and faith that this is part and parcel of our journey and that we are never truly alone. And the reason why we are never truly alone is because really, when you, as an eternal spiritual being, you have your spirit team around you. You have the spirit team, like, right, my mother passed away this year, my sister passed away many years ago, and I know they're always with me. At the end of the day, we do have a journey that the soul's journey is unique and singular, but that doesn't mean that you don't have the spiritual team around you to support that journey, to support that journey. And so, because I don't have any children myself, I say to some says, why, how come you don't feel lonely? How come you're not afraid of what's going to happen if, when you get alone, nobody's going to be able to take care of you because you don't have children, you don't have a lot of friends. What's that? Is, and I always say this. I said, my soul's on a traveling journey, and I know that God and my spirit team will take care of things exactly the way it should. I have faith. I have confidence that it's going to maneuver, it's going to support me in my final days. And maybe I'll be alone, maybe I won't. But it's okay. I know that the divine is going to be here for me. My spirit team's going to be here. And I'm okay. I have faith that it will all work out in the way that it should. And I really take deep comfort in that because I know that it is it and my soul keeps continuing. Once this body goes, it continues to a new journey. So I focus because I know my soul is traveling constantly and it's passing through. I'm not that concerned about having a million friends. Now, if a friend comes in and it's a great friend and it's the right friend, I'm great with that. But I'm also good with not having a lot of friends or not having, because my family probably wouldn't be able to be around me because my siblings are older than me. So there's a good chance that, my siblings may pass on before me. But I wouldn't even want to impose on them taking care of me when I'm old. So literally knowing and feeling that I am truly on a traveling journey, it's really about what am I supposed to learn in this journey? And I shift my entire focus on what it is that I need to learn, what my soul needs to learn while I'm here in this time space reality called life. And as I keep focusing on that and saying, what is it that I need to learn in this life? Everything else will be taken care of. Everything else will be taken care of. So I'm not that fearful of loneliness as I may have been 10, 15, 20 years ago. That doesn't mean that, are there times when I might feel lonely? Yes, absolutely. But it's not a chronic issue for me. It might be, it might be for, it might be for a couple of hours here. It might be for, it comes and goes, but it's not a permanent underlying chronic issue for me. Because knowing that I'm passing through this life and then I'm here to focus on what my soul needs to learn. And one of the things that I realized that my soul needs to learn is patience. Patience. So every person that comes into my life, I have to exercise patience. And so as I keep focusing on that, what my soul needs to learn, how do I become more patient? Become more patient, everything else falls into place because the divine knows how to make it all happen. Okay, so does anybody have any questions? Let's see, let's stop there for a second. Okay. Okay, so let's see if we have any questions. Hi, Richard. How are you? Hi, Perry. How are you? Okay. Let me see if, do you guys have any questions here? Okay, Nicole says, my ego keeps getting in the way. Right now, jealousy showing, making me feel stuck. Okay, Nicole, this is what I want to say to you. First of all, the fact that you recognize that jealousy is showing up, you should give yourself a pat in the shoulders. Really, I'm serious. Most people don't even have an awareness of that for themselves, especially people who have a narcissistic profile. The fact that you recognize that, you should give yourself a lot of credit, and you're already 50% there. You're already 50% there. And so, Nicole, where the thing that you want to be working on for yourself is finding a way to feel, know that the universal, everything's, there's so much abundance. So it's the limiting belief that our ego mind has, and you recognize that your ego mind is getting in the way. Your ego mind is keeps telling you limitation, 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 lack, lack, lack. And so when we have that ego mind puts that into our system that there's lack, when we see somebody else maybe have something that we may want, we feel that we feel jealousy or envy because we're feeling like, oh, we can't have that because there's a limitation to, there's, the pie is limited. It's not infinitely abundant. It's not infinitely prosperous. And so once you start to shift the mindset that it's not true, that because look at the universe. The universe is infinite. It's a, I mean, you look at the sun energy, for example, talk about resources here. There is no limitation of the sun resources, right? The sun puts out energy and it's unlimited, right? And so that's what it really is. But it's our mindset, that mindset of lack, of limitation, that doesn't understand abundance and prosperity. It's a really, really, that is what is holding you back. So, what are the things that I can do to feel abundant in this moment, prosperous in this moment, that I have, that I am not lacking, and that I am in a prosperous zone, an abundant zone? Is that we've got to train the mind, we've got to retrain it. So, if you see something like somebody has something, right? Shift and you notice that you're jealous, I would say pause. Just say, Nicole, pause your thoughts. And you say something like, I know that the universal forces is abundant and infinitely abundant, prosperous. My life as an eternal being that is connected to these universal forces are infinitely prosperous abundance. I am happy for that person that has those things, and I send them more blessings and prosperity. But prosperity is not limited. I know that I can that can prosperity and abundance flows to me because I'm an eternal being of infinite possibilities, and the universal forces are infinite and eternal and has no limitation in possibilities. And as you keep saying those things to yourself, you're tapping into that abundance. And also then think of three things that you could be grateful for. I am so grateful for the roof overhead. I am so grateful for the family that I have. I'm so grateful for the food on the table. When you're grateful, you're tapping into that prosperous zone, that abundant zone. And so stop and pause and say those things and return home to your return home to your soul, because your soul is infinitely unlimited. It's infinite potential, infinite possibilities. And so that's when you want to pause your ego mind thought of that lack, limitation, and send them a blessing. Say, I'm happy for them. I'm happy that they have all the blessings in the world. And I'm going to practice, how can I practice? What thought can I do? How can I shift my thought so I can start to shift my energetic frequency broadcasting? Pause it, pause that thought. And the fact that you had an awareness of it is amazing. You're 50% there. So keep practicing that as you keep uh, having an awareness that you're jealous. Keep practicing that over and over again. And as you keep practicing, you just get better and better and better and better at it. Okay, so I hope that has helped you. Um, okay. Hi, Perry. How are you? Finding the immense joy of being present right now with delight and enthusiasm for the process of learning and understanding through loving kindness and peacefulness. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Perry. You have always the most beautiful wisdoms that you share with us. So I'm deeply grateful to you. Nicole says, my spirit team wants me to connect directly with them. I try with meditation to center myself, but I'm still not receiving the message. I know they are helping to guide me. Be patient about it. Don't give up. Be patient. You're, yeah, I get what sometimes we have blocks, and that's why we're not receiving it. But the more we can practice living in the power of now in this present moment, the more we can practice that, the more we're going to be able to unblock those blocks and receive those messages naturally and organically. So you're kind of having, when we have these blocks and we're not receiving messages, it's because we've got kind of a writer's block. That's what we have. We have kind of a, like what they call writer's block. And once those blocks start to disappear and dissipate, then things really flow in naturally and organically. Okay, so keep practicing, keep going at it. Don't give up on yourself. I am an Aries. I do try to have patience long. Ah, yes, give yourself credit first. That is the first thing you should do. Always, the fact that you even have because most people don't even have an awareness of it. Most people don't even have an awareness of their internal state of being. And having an awareness is the first thing. You're 50% there. Once you have an awareness, you're already 50% there. So you have to give yourself a lot of credit for that awareness that most people don't even have. So give yourself a lot of credit for that. Okay, let's see. Hi, Gilliam. How are you? Hello from Singapore. Oh, Singapore. What a beautiful country. Beautiful place. Beautiful. Hi, Kathy. How are you? Albert, this is true, Parry. Albert Einstein says it's better to have imagination rather than knowledge. And the reason why he's saying that is because when you can imagine, you can go into infinite possibility zones because the universe is infinite possibility. And when you go into the infinite possibility zone, you're going to create things that we've never created before. So when we look at, people like the great, we have great innovators, great founders, great inventors, like Edison with the electricity, or like even Steve Jobs with, all of his beautiful, you know, products, or Elon Musk going to the, Mars. We could never imagine that those things could be done. And it's because of imagination. Imagination takes us to a place that is so innovative, that is so not bound by limitations, that is really tapping into the universal forces of expansion and growth, innovation, creation, building, no limitations. So imagination takes us and aligns us with our true self, aligns us with who we really are, which is an internal being of infinite possibilities. That's why imagination becomes so powerful, because we know that we can explore it, and we know we can start going in that direction, and we could start innovating, creating and building in that direction. That's why look at the planet. Look at the things that the humans have created and innovated and built. I mean, even just the AI, right? Who would have ever thought that that's even possible, that a machine could be smarter than humans, could think for itself? That's imagination, because if you couldn't imagine, that's imagination of coming into the computer era of, the digital era, and that was created by the human imagination. Okay, let's see if there's any other questions, because I want to answer questions. That's why I come. Levith, hi, Levith Remisetti. How soul chooses someone. What it means if we do not get the fruits of our hard work, life looks like struggling and evermore. Okay, let's answer the first question. How soul chooses someone. The soul chooses based on what the soul needs to learn, the lessons of the soul. What do I need to learn? Does the soul need to learn, am I unconditional worthiness? Does the soul need to learn patience? Does the soul need to learn compassion? Does the soul need to learn that I'm good enough? Does the soul need to learn I'm unconditionally lovable? What is it that the basic things that the soul really needs to learn? And so that's why when you see sometimes, you see people, especially in relationships, you see people, they seem to be in the same relationship over and over again. Have you noticed that some people, they just keep repeating the same thing over and over again in this life? And the reason why they're repeating is because they haven't learned. The soul hasn't learned. So, for example, if let's say somebody's in a bad relationship and somebody's being abused by somebody else, mentally, emotionally, even maybe physically, and they keep staying in that relationship. Or if they go to a different relationship, it's really the same relationship. They're being abused. It's because the soul is presenting them with a person like that that's abusing them. So the soul can learn the lesson that no, I am unconditionally worthy. I am good enough. I am unconditionally lovable. And once the soul learns that, do you think that that person is going to stay with this abusive partner? No, they're not. They're not going to. But as long as the soul doesn't learn that piece, they're going to keep staying in this unhealthy relationship. And so the soul needs to learn that to be able to move beyond, move forward. And that once it moves forward, it's expanding and growing, right? So that's why the soul chooses those things. So you might want to ask, you know, oh, you know, why am I attracted to this person? What is it my soul needs to learn that I'm attracted to this person? There are things, it's a soul journey. It's a lesson for the soul. And so you want to ask that of yourself before you get into a serious relationship and say, ask. Because if you're going to spend, many years with this person, I think it's important for your soul to really grow and expand in that relationship, right? And so once you've learned that lesson, then the relationship no longer serves you and you can move on. Now, this other person can stay at the same place or can learn and move on themselves. So everybody's soul's journey is unique. So we can't compare two souls' journey ever. They're just unique. They're apples and oranges. It's not that one is better than the other. It's just apples and oranges. Okay, then you ask what it means if we do not get the fruits of our hard work, like life looks like struggling at every moment. That's a good question. Thank you so much, Levith, for that question. What it means is that our beliefs and thoughts do not serve us. So you're carrying beliefs and thoughts that is really, and you're programming your subconscious mind for that particular lifestyle. So if you don't have enough, if you believe that you don't have enough money in the bank right now, you says, Moon, I'm poor. I have only $100 in the bank account. And I've had $100 in the bank account for the last 3 years or the 4 years. It's because you believe that is all you can have. So you got to practice in the power of now. How can I attract more abundance? How can I feel more abundant in the power of now so that I could change the energetic flow? Because right now you're here. Let's say if you're struggling, you say, I don't have enough money, you're at this energetic level, and having money, maybe having $1 million is over here. You got to get yourself from here to here. But what's happening now, Levinth, is because you see some evidence, you call evidence, quote unquote evidence, that you don't have money, you keep broadcasting that to the universe. It keeps reinforcing your limiting belief system. And then you keep broadcasting that same frequency of lack, 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 lack. And so what's happening is you're holding yourself down. And so you're passing ship like this. If $1 million is here and you keep broadcasting lack, 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 you're here. However, if you say, you know what? I'm going to change my internal world to start feeling abundant here and now. What are the things that I could do to start feeling? Oh, wow. Thank you for the food on the table. Thank you for my family. Thank you for the roof over my head. Thank you for my health. What are all the things that you could be so grateful for that is tapping into that abundant energy? And if you do that here and now, and every time, if you even go to the supermarket and let's say you spent $5 buying something, you could say, I'm so grateful that I have this money to buy this, even if it's $5. Again, you've got to start tapping into that prosperity energy so that you could start doing this, start to raise that frequency. And so as you start doing that and you start feeling abundant, regardless of whatever money you have in the bank, you're doing this. And then the universe, because it just matches you where you're at, it keeps matching you. Oh, more abundant, more abundant, more abundant, more abundant. It's because you've trained your subconscious mind for many years to struggle. And so the word that you use, the mere fact that you use the word struggle is telling me that you are at a place of struggle. And so if you are struggling, if your internal world is saying struggling, struggling, that's what you're broadcasting to the universe, and the universe keeps meeting you where you're at. Struggle, 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 like that. So that's what's happening. Okay. James. Oh, James Hoy Bishop. What is your question, James? Oh, okay. Okay, I see. I'm not passing over your question. It's just a lot of stuff coming up and down. So sometimes I don't see it because the screen is going up. Okay, James, listen. What does this physical universe have why does this physical universe have limitations, but we are unlimited? Yes. Okay, because well, that's a really good question. I never really thought about that answer, but it's a great question. What it is this is that I think why it has supposedly quote unquote limitations because it doesn't really. We think it has. I think our belief systems believe that it has limitations because we have the ego mind. Once we come into physical form, right? It's like a wall. You can't move beyond the wall, right? You hit the wall, that's physical, right? So in that sense, there's some limitations. Oh, it's like going, it's like, I'm at my desk right now. And right now, I can't go beyond my desk. There's a physical limitation to that, right? What it is that the reason why we come into these physical form is so that our soul, how can our soul expand and grow, have the challenges of the physical world? Because we need challenges for our soul to grow. If there were no challenges, if everything was good, do you ever see people growing, really growing, expanding when everything is good and joyous? They grow when there's challenges in life, right? People say, my God, that was the greatest thing that ever happened to me because I grew and expand. I'm a much better person. I'm a much mature person. I'm so much amazing because of these challenges and I overcame them. It's that the soul needs to overcome challenges to grow and expand. So I see this a lot with entrepreneurs, founders. I meet, because I'm in the founder community, I see founders all the time. They're trying to solve problems. So there's always challenges. There's always that limitation. Oh, there's something, a challenge is kind of a limitation, right? And they're always trying to overcome it. And when they overcome it, it's like expansion and growth. Oh my God, look at this. Look at how much I've grown and expanded because I overcame that challenge. So that's why that physical limitation is there for a reason, so that the soul can overcome those challenges and grow and expand. That's the purpose of that, of those physical, material, time, space, reality. That's why a soul comes in to have these physical experience and these physical challenges to overcome for expansion and growth. I really think that's the reason because we don't grow, we don't learn when things are just good, right? We only learn when we face the darkest moments. And when we're able to transmute and alchemize those darkest moments, that's when we truly reach for the moon, reach for the universe, reach for the sky, whatever you want to call it. We truly, whoosh, we're going, we're expanding, we're growing. Okay, so that's an answer to your question. I hope that helps. Hi, Tony. How are you? Oh, much gratitude for having you in our live streaming. Okay. Um, okay, let's see who else has any questions. Does anybody have any question? The live notification was not showing up. I don't know why. Okay. You know what happened, Ella? What happened was at 8 I wasn't able to get on at 8 a.m. I got on at 8:20 a.m. And that's why you didn't see the notification. So I'm very, very sorry about that. something happened this morning that I wasn't able to get on time. So I deeply apologize. And that's why you didn't see the notification. So I'm very sorry. So welcome. I'm glad you came on later. Okay. Tam team, what questions should I ask to get a new job? What questions should I ask to get a new job? Okay. That's an interesting question. So you're looking for a new job. I think what you want to do is you want to ask you want to return, you want to come home to your soul to ask, what is it that my soul really desires? What is the soul my what is the yearning? Which direction is my soul yearning to go? Which direction is my soul really knows that it's supposed to go? Because the soul already knows that journey. It's that you have to access it, you have to connect with it. That's the key here. The key here is the soul, your soul already knows, but it's whether your ego mind is going to be aligned with that, whether your conscious awareness is going to be aligned with that soul's journey. And once it aligns with that, that's called flow, where there's not that resistant energy. You're tapping into flow, and things start to make sense. You start to have more clarity. You start to have more focus about which way you're going to go. So it's not about just having a new job. It's about a new job that's going to align with your soul's journey, right? Because you're here for a higher purpose. You're not here just to, get a salary. That's not really the reason why you're here. And of course, I understand that people have bills to pay. They have, they have food, put food on the table. They have to have a roof over their head. Of course, those are all practical things that we deal with. And I deal with it myself. It's not like I have lots of bills. So I understand that. But the money becomes kind of a bright byproduct of where your soul's going because the universe will support that soul's journey. And so that's the first question to ask. The first question to ask is which direction is my soul wants to go? And that's where you follow it. And then you say, oh, my soul wants to go in the direction of I always felt my soul was always about, the metaphysical, the mystery, the spiritual. And so, how can I manifest that in a way that makes sense for my soul's journey? Oh, I could do a blog about spiritual living, holistic living. Oh, I could create, AI with traditional Chinese medicine, which is an energetic system, right? So it's really so once you sort of know which direction the soul wants to go, then you could pair that with a job. That's what it is. You could pair that with what career makes sense to align yourself. So that's the first question is where does my soul want to go? Okay. Okay. So I hope I helped you with that. Uh, okay. Okay. Let's see what else, what other questions there are. Take care. No worries, Moon. I'm sorry for happened in the morning. Oh, thank you, Ella. Thank you so much for your kind, beautiful energy. Perry says the future is a mystery to discover and learn to be clear aware of our own personal choices with following our life's purpose and heartfelt energies. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate that, Perry. I really appreciate your wisdoms, beautiful wisdoms that you always put forth. And you just make the room, this sacred space, you just make it more beautiful, more joyous, more light with your wisdoms. I just love it because I feel like you fill the space with light. And that is so important that we all contributing to filling the space with light, and that's the beautiful thing. Okay, so if no one has any other questions, let me just again recap and then we'll close the room. So understanding your soul's traveling journey is that your soul is here in this physical time space reality to travel through this physical world to learn, to have physical experiences, to learn lots of life lessons for the expansion and growth of the soul. There is no final destination of the soul. The soul is only ever traveling, ever traveling. So the body goes, the soul keeps traveling. Is the soul going to come into another body? Yes, it could, because it needs to learn more lessons. There's a karmic contract that has to fulfill, or there's a life lesson that it has to learn. The soul has to learn more lessons. So it comes back. It can come back. And many of us will come back. And so, as we understand that the soul is constantly traveling eternally and infinitely, there is no end destination. Think about how much comfort we could take in that. That that whatever is happening around us, that we are here to learn for that expansion and growth of the soul. So nothing that happens if when we face trauma or we face challenges, we're grounded, we're anchored. We have a foundation by which we could fall upon so that we're not completely destroyed, like we're not mentally, emotionally completely destroyed when maybe we have a loved one that passes away, or maybe we have a career that we got fired, right? When you understand that you are a traveling soul and that you're learning lessons, you are moving through with the flow. You're like, okay, this was bad. My mom just passed away and I'm in grief. But I know that my mom is still here with me, but I know that my mom is traveling, I'm traveling, we're always still together. And so it becomes an anchor, a foundation for you to be able to maneuver through life with more flow, ease, peace, calm, and serenity. And when you can move through life that way, you become a more powerful manifester, and then things come to you more naturally or organically, people and situations. Because what it is that you're creating less resistant energy. So understanding that you're this traveling soul that is eternal gives you this incredible foundation. So when, let's say, a relationship doesn't work out, you're like, okay, that's for my highest and best good that it didn't work out. Because you see some people where relationships don't work out and they're devastated beyond anything because they think that for some reason this is the only person that's gonna that would ever be with them, and they'll never meet anybody else, so they become so devastated. You see that, right? But think about it. If you know that you're a traveling soul, you know that this relationship was there for a reason. It could be for a season, it could be for 6 months, it could be 3 months, it could be for 10 years. And it's okay because you are a traveling soul and you're going to maneuver and manage life challenges better. That's why the power of understanding your traveling soul's journey is so important. Okay. So thank you so much for joining me. And next time I'll try not to be late for the live session. So let's do a closing prayer. Dear God, angel, spirit guide, son, master, divine creator, thank you so much for allowing us to create the sacred space on the topic of the understanding the soul's traveling journey. Thank you so much for empowering and having this beautiful engagement with these incredible souls in this room. They're such beautiful people, beautiful souls that we are all traveling and we are all meeting with each other and we are part and parcel of each other, that nobody is separate from each other. We are all one. So thank you so much for reminding us that we are in this traveling journey and that we can manage life's challenges with more flow, ease, calm, peace, and serenity because we have the foundation that we are spiritual beings of eternal expansion, eternal growth. And we are never limited by our ego mind. Allow these beautiful souls to let go of these limiting limitations of the ego mind. Let go of fear. Let go of doubt. Let go of let go of any limitations about who they truly are, because we know that each one of these beautiful souls are have infinite potential, infinite talent, infinite gifts to be able to align with their soul's journey and path so they can truly fulfill their purpose in this life and in their soul's journey. So thank you so much for your continued support, your continued guidance, your continued protection, and most importantly, your unconditional love. And so it is. Namaste. Okay, much love and blessings to all of you. See you again. Bye.